Hey guys, Charlie from virtualguitarskills.com. I just got to the studio and I figured I'm going to show you 5 things that you can do to compose one guitar part that cut through the mix. Let's go and check it out. All right, so today we're going to check out 5 types of voicings that you can play to cut more through the mix. And specifically, these are very one guitar driven voicings, which is the kind of stuff that I use when we play worship at our church all the time. All right, so let's start off with number 1, which is focusing on single notes. All right, so single notes, of course, because we're not playing a full chord, it's simply single notes and they really cut through the mix with a lot of ease. The main thing that's super important is that you need to understand the chord tones. Because if you outline the chord tones, number 1, that you're playing over, it's going to add value to the music in both a harmonic and melodic context. So first of all, make sure you know your chord tones. Secondly, make sure that you are using a rhythm that really drives the part, or that is a solid rhythm. Now that's one of the secrets that you can actually become a better lead guitar player by focusing on developing solid rhythm chops. So let me show you the simple example that you can use using single notes using a very famous worship guitar line. Alright, so of course, that's Our God by Chris Tomlin. Such a simple part, so let me give you 3 tips there. First of all, the chord tones. What I'm playing here is a G sharp minor, gives us that first note. Then we have an E, gives us that G sharp, which is a chord tone of E. Then we go to B, which is that D sharp, and then we go to F sharp as a chord. We've got that C sharp as a chord tone. So it's very important to realize that that guitar part isn't just some random single notes, but it's actually outlining the chord progression there. And for every one of those chords, you have 3 options. We did another video where we covered chord tones more. You can check the link for that in the description. The second thing is the rhythm pattern. It's a driving 8th note pattern, which really, that consistency and the way that you do the accents, as well as that slight delayed attack that they use, gives a lot of flavor and character to that single line. And then finally, your string muting really needs to be on point, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to just be very timid in just playing the single notes. You want to be able to play multiple strings like this. That really fattens the whole tone up a lot, but if your string muting in your fretting hand isn't up to par, then you're going to find that you have a lot of string noise that shouldn't belong there, and that won't sound good. So go and take those tips and figure out how to play more melodically, but using chord tones to outline the chords that you're playing over, together with string muting and a solid rhythmic pattern. All right, my second favorite thing to do is to use octaves, right? That is kind of like single notes, but we are just fattening things up a little bit, because sometimes you might start with a line being played with single notes, but then as the song builds, you want to bring in something that fattens it up, and octaves is a nice addition to try and use for that. Let me play that for you right now. All right, so as you can see, instead of just playing the single notes, I'm playing octaves. All right, so octaves is really going to fatten that up for you a lot. Again, string muting is super important, because now what you are doing is the 2 notes that we're playing in this instance is being played on the B string as well as the D string. So you have this G string in the middle here that you need to really make sure that that one does not ring out. So you can take a famous line like that, and instead of doing single notes, you can play it with an octave. That's going to sound nice and fat. And that's the kind of thing that you might do in a two guitar situation, where one guitar plays the higher octave and the other one plays the lower octave. But if you're in a one guitar band, you can definitely combine that together. All right, so next up, I want to talk to you about voicings that I call 4-2 voicings. 4-2 has nothing to do with any chord degrees or anything like that. It simply means it's voicings that I play on the fourth string and the second strings exclusively. Now, once you have single notes, then you go up to octaves. Sometimes you might want to add more harmonic context to those notes, right? So some people might think that after your octaves, you want to start checking out triads. Now that can certainly work, but the problem with triads, it's very dense sounding voicings, which makes it hard to cut through the mix. So what I did in the 4-2 voicings is I've taken chord shapes like this, which would be a G. Those are triads. They're not really going to cut through the mix with a dirty sound like this. So I just decided to not play the strings on the G string. And when you play those kind of 4-2 voicings, they cut through the mix like nothing else. There's another video where I went into that in greater detail. You can check out the link in the description. Now let me play you what I might do over that same backing track using 4-2 voicings. All right, so as you can see, that adds a lot of body to the sound, but it still cuts through the mix because I'm not playing the middle note of that triad. I'd highly encourage you to check out those 4-2 voicings. Again, there's a link in the description that'll take you to a detailed video like that. All right, so let's move on to the fourth type of voicing that you can use to really cut through the mix. Now you kind of see where this is going. We started with single notes, then we added octaves, then we went to 4-2 voicings, and now I want to show you 4-2-1 voicings, which essentially is the same as a 4-2 voicing. I'm just adding in another note. So that means instead of playing G sharp minor like this, I will play it like this. This means instead of playing E like this, I'll play like this. Then instead of playing B like this, I'm actually going to do a power chord like this. And then instead of playing F sharp like this, I'm going to do this. That gives me, let's give that a shot with the backing track right now. Alright, so let's check out the fifth type of voicings. Now these are open triads. We don't have enough time to really get into the details of open triads. You can check out the link in the description for another video about open triads. But essentially these are kind of like 4-2 voicings, but I'm adding in a lower note. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play G sharp minor like this. I'm going to play E like this. I'm going to play B like this. I'm going to play F sharp like that. So these are all what's known as open triads. It's a triad that spans a distance greater than an octave. All right, so let me show you what that'll sound like with the track. Alright, so what's cool about that is these open triads have almost an orchestral type of sound, but when I break up the notes like that, I still get the full body of the chord, but I'm splitting it up So that's almost like combining rhythm guitar together with lead guitar. So I'm starting on my low notes and then ending on the high notes. Now, if you want to take that same idea and bring in a little bit of melodic movement, well, then what you can do, instead of just playing the notes on their own like this, for G sharp minor, E, B over D sharp, F sharp. Then I can do this for G sharp minor, for E, for B over D sharp, and then for F sharp. That intervallic style playing gives a lot of movement and melodic interest, which I'm a great fan of. Let's check that out with the backing. Alright, so as you can see, now we've got movement, we are outlining the harmony, and the main thing that all of these examples have in common is the fact that I'm respectful of the harmony. The problem so many guitar players make is they take a scale and they try and play over whatever the rest of the band is doing, and no wonder it doesn't sound melodic or doesn't add value because there's no alignment together with what they're playing and what's actually happening with the chords. So if you learn your voicings like this, you can outline the harmony and the chords that the rest of the band plays, which means your playing is going to be on point with what's happening with the rest of the band. And secondly, you can use these voicings in different scenarios to come up with different textures, different sounds, and different ways to add value from a harmonic, a melodic, as well as a rhythmic aspect. And really, those are the three elements of music: rhythm, harmony, and melody. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed these 5 voicings. We've checked out single notes, technically not a voicing, but when I play it in the context of the band, of course, it makes a change to the way it sounds. Then we checked out octaves, we checked out 4/2 voicings, we checked out 4/2/1 voicings, and finally, we checked out open triads. Now, 2 final bonus tips I can leave you with if you want to cut through the mix. Make sure that you're on your bridge pickup when you play these kind of like lead focused lines with an overdriven sound. That's going to help you to cut through the mix. And then secondly, make sure that you don't scoop out your mids. Now, if any of you are familiar with the typical kind of Metallica heavy metal sound, what they do is they boost the bass and treble frequencies and they cut out that mid range. It kind of sounds cool when you play on your own with that kind of a tone, but if you want to cut through the mix, you need to have a bit of a bump in your mid-range frequency, because that's going to help you to cut through all of the other instruments that are, of course, part of the modern worship genre. All right, guys, there you go. I really hope you enjoyed this. And if you'd like to improve your modern worship guitar playing, I'd like to invite you to check out our free 7-day worship guitar challenge. There's a link in the description below. And through that, you'll learn 15 different approaches that you can use to improve both your rhythm and your lead guitar playing. All right, guys, thanks so much. If you enjoyed the video, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you can get notifications whenever we release more power-packed lessons just like this one. All right, guys, see you in the next one.